On today's episode of the Bradeaux and Will Show, we're going to be talking our Houston Rockets agendas. We have the Right Read podcast crew with us. It's going to be a fun episode, 5 guys total. And we're also going to talk about potential targets for the Rockets to look at in the offseason. Now, I know the Rockets are 15-7. They are the second seed, but we're just looking ahead to the offseason to see what this Rockets team could look like in the future. So stay tuned for this episode. You're not going to want to miss it.
All right, and welcome back to the episode of the Bradeaux and Will Show. You guys heard Brad in the introduction. Today we have this is the first time I believe we've done three guests on the episode, Brad, if I'm not mistaken. First time, but we couldn't get just one or two. We had to get the Right Read podcast. These guys have been, we've been talking to them in Twitter Spaces, Twitter group chats, playback, all that good stuff. Just knowing these guys the last couple of years, and they finally able to get their podcast up and running. It's been really fun to watch that growth from them, and then obviously I enjoy their podcast. So I'm gonna let them introduce themselves, introduce what they do, so you guys can kind of tap in with their work. Because if you haven't already, you should. And I'll just go left to right from what I see. So DeAndre, I'll let you kind of take it away. Introduce yourself. Let people know. You've been on the show before, so
Yeah, second time on the show. I guess I'm the vet guest. But second time on the show. Glad to be on here. Follow me on Twitter at Willems, WILLLUMZ. Like Will said, follow the podcast and follow my YouTube channel at DeAndre Does Hoops.
Now Zay here, this is his first time on the show.
Am I the only one who's
he's the rookie.
You're the rook, man.
I'm also a vet.
Yeah, so Zay, go ahead and plug your stuff for us.
You can find me on Twitter. Twitter user GZ Supremacy. Do need to lock in and start posting more tweets and threads, but yeah, that's where you can find me.
Mr. Assad?
Yeah. All right, what's up? New Twitter account at Assad NBA because Elon snatched my old one. But same stuff, man. Just posting stats, engage with the community, adding to the zeitgeist as we do.
And y'all's podcast, I know it's on YouTube. The channel is called The Right Read. Right is in your right hand. Read is in reading a book. But is it on any other platforms, Apple, Spotify, anything like that?
We're getting it on Apple and Spotify. That was kind of a little snafu in the uploading process. But the 3 episodes will be up hopefully by the end of this week on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and anywhere else you listen to your podcast. And like Will said, it's all 3 episodes are on YouTube if you do want the video along with the audio. But yeah, we are working on the other half of just the audio listeners.
And they do a really good job with their podcast. So I'm not saying it just because they're my friends. Y'all should tap in with their work. But that being said, we had a jam-packed episode. We do got 5 people speaking today. We are going to start it off by talking about our personal Rockets agendas for this season. So this is just anything that, you feel like, I guess, aside from on Twitter, you just kind of were pushing this agenda, something you were big on, whether it was early in the season, the off season, and whatnot, something that you had, pushed, publicized, put your name behind. We're kind of updating it. It's to see we're about a fourth away through the season now. So we're kind of updating it about a fourth away. I think Brad is going to lead us off with this, and then we're going to keep it moving.
Yeah, so this is kind of like a hot take section. And I truly believe this, and I don't even think it's a hot take. And people may call me crazy in the comments, but beginning of the year, I thought this team could win 50 games. 15-7 now, I still think they can win 50 games. Some things they have to, fix. But no, I think this team can win 50 games. And on top of that, not only do I think they're not going to be in the play-in, I think they can mess around and win a playoff series. I think Ime Udoka can get this team to the point where they're playing confident basketball. They find what's working for them offensively because we've seen them defensively. We saw last year they had that defensive identity. This year, they've taken that and ran with it. They're like a top 3 defensive unit at the moment. I'd have to look at it again. But they're one of the best defensive teams in the NBA, and that's going to stay consistent in my personal opinion. Now, offensively, they've been running through Sengun a lot more. That's a recipe for success. And I think once he's maximized and he's able to start performing better, I don't know why his true shooting percentage is pretty low right now. But that's going to go up, and this team is going to be clicking, and I think they can mess around and upset a team. Even if they're the higher seed, they may see a team that's been in the playoffs already, and everyone's going to see it as an upset. They're going to be looking at the Houston Rockets as food. I can already see it. Oh, yeah, the Rockets. We got the Rockets. Let's go. I'm happy. I think the Rockets are going to upset a fan base. And I'm looking forward to that, and I think that they could take a team to 6 games in round 2. And that'd be the perfect season, in my opinion. So that would be my hot take. I think it's realistic, personally. We can go to who are we going to? We're going to Assad?
It was me next. We said we are gonna go in the order on the screen.
No, so
My-
counterclockwise.
yeah. So I mine is my favorite player that I've been talking about pretty much. I think every episode this season I've probably said at least one thing about Amin Thompson. Yeah, so we're at about 20, what are we, 22 games into the season? He's
22.
averaging 11 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, a block, and he's shooting 55. I'm 27, so I shot the best from 3, 55, 27, 70 free throw percentage from the free throw line. 51 true shooting in just 27 minutes a night. And so, yeah, we're about 22 games for the season. I picked kind of the funny time to speak about this because Amin probably had, Asai, you said that might have been his worst game ever.
It was
that he played. Not even a watching for him, just period. Like I did watch every OTE game, and he never looked that bad at OTE. So you're right. That probably was his worst game as a professional ever. But good thing we don't judge people by one game. You get the whole season. I think he's been great this year. As someone who's been like pushing he's one of. I think I said last year he was a top 4 player on the roster, and I still kind of feel that way right now. He probably argues a bit higher than that, honestly. And I still think that in 2-3 seasons, there's a real world where he's the best player on the team. Like I said, mind you, yesterday wasn't the best, showcase of that being his potential. But I think in the other games this season, you have seen kind of some of the reasons why I'm so high on Amin Thompson. We can start with the defense. I believe it was Sam Vecini the other day said that he thinks Amin Thompson is the best perimeter defender in the entire league. And I think we said that a couple of times on the show. I know we for sure have said it on podcast and in playback before. I think that you could, if he's not the best, I'm not sure you could name me 3 guys who are more disciplined and versatile defensively on the perimeter than Amin Thompson. Like, and the hot take I've been saying is I think if you disqualify like the rim protecting bigs, so like get rid of like the Shets, the Wemby's, the Mobleys, guys like that, the Rudy Gobert's, why isn't Amin Thompson the best defender in the NBA once we remove the bigs? And I think we've seen that this season. He's embraced the challenge guarding multiple guys. He's guarded SGA, he's guarded Brunson, he's guarded Harden, he's guarded Halliburton, he's guarded Luka. I probably forget Anthony Edwards was another guy he played really good defense on this season. Like, and that's a wide variety of players that he's all played really good defense. So like you can kind of go back and look at their individual stats when Amin Thompson's guarding those players. And for the most part, he's holding those those are like the best guys in our league. And he's holding them to like well below their averages when he's the primary defender. So there's that. Then his rebounding is still as impressive as it always been. I think we're starting to see him expand a bit more of his game as a ball handler. Now, yesterday it was really, really rough, but I think we are seeing him, and over the last couple of games, he's getting more aggressive and assertive and intentional about getting to the rim and then finishing there. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I want to say he's finishing pretty well at the rim this year on solid volume for how many minutes he's playing. So we're also starting to see him kind of develop that rim pressure and take advantage of the fact that he is probably the best athlete in the entire association. And the last thing I'll say is the biggest thing I always say with the men is like for as good defensively and as good as like a rebounder, cutter, off ball guy as he is, I think his best attribute is his IQ, and more specifically, I think he's one of the best like decision makers and playmakers with the basketball in his hands on this team. And I think in the NBA one day now, obviously because his handle is not where you'd want it to be just yet, you're not able to see that as much. More of his usage on the court is him setting screens, him rolling, him playing dunker spot, and kind of being a cutter, stuff like that. But in the short opportunities he has had to initiate offense, I think he does a solid job at doing it. There have been a couple of times where he's thrown some passes that like you can only say like only a man is capable of throwing this kind of pass on this team. They don't always result in like converted assists because we can't really shoot right now. But I can think of a couple of times this season where he's gone up, jumped or like around the basket on like some Julius Erving, Magic Johnson stuff and found a guy open for 3. And like that's not something normal at all. Like only a man can do that. So without trying to ramble too much, I'll end my plan there. I'd say the Amin agenda is looking pretty strong right now.
Really quick, before we go to Assad, I wanted to ask. I meant to say this before we start talking, but what do y'all think about my agenda? You think I'm tripping? Rockets can hit the second round? What would y'all say?
I think you're lowballing it, honestly. I think the expectations for the team, just how they play, like they're the 2 seed for the reason. Like we're a 4th through the season, won our NBA Cup group. I know it's not a big deal to some people. It's a big deal to me.
Agreed.
I mean, second seed in the West, but I think we're a game and a half or a game in front now after last night's loss. Like, this team's legit, and I think being the 2 seed, if we sustain, I think we're going to end up a top 4 seed. We're going to have a home playoff series, and the offensive struggles kind of boil down to just us not making shots. If we get hot at the right time, if certain guys start making shots we know they can make, come around April or when it really starts to mean something, I don't know who can beat us, honestly. I think the only team that can beat the Houston Rockets is the Houston Rockets. I've seen it every single game this season that we've lost. The Rockets have beat the Rockets. There really hasn't been a team coming out and dominating us or just taking our lunch money from us. We've been subpar in the games that we've lost, that we've given up leads and just not looked like an experienced team, which obviously we have to grow through some of those youth issues. But, man, I think that this team has legit, like, conference finals potential if we get it clicking at the right time. And I just don't see a matchup for me that scares me at all. Like, no team in the West really, really scares me when it comes to this team.
At full health?
Nah, because I've seen us play them with Chet down low and say, all right, Sengun can handle this when he's clicking. Like, the first game we played, Sengun, I don't know what it was early season. He was just a bit out of shape or trying to get his legs under him. I think he had like 4 blown layups that game, and it's all of like, man, we know you make those. So, honestly, if we just get clicking, OKC's a great team. Don't hear what I'm not saying, but I don't see why we can't beat them in a 7-game series, honestly.
That should have been your hot take. What was it?
But we'll get to that.
I was gonna say, it's matchup dependent, man. It's the end of the day, our best player 22, our second best player 22, our third best player 21. It's like though OKC was the one seed last year. They won one playoff series against the Pelicans team that was missing its best players. Like, it's certain rules, I think, in the NBA and in sports in general. And youth is like kind of a universal law that if your team's too young, there's a cap, I think, on your team. And I think our cap's probably the second round. Just because I can see us beating a team in a series. I agree with Brad, but I think winning that first series and then trying to win that second series is a different animal, man. Is because that team in that second series is gonna have at least like 4 to 7 games of film on what your team looks like in the playoffs. They're gonna have weeks to adjust for you, plan for you, game plan for you. That's a different animal for our whole coaching staff, for everyone on the court. Like, we've never been adjusted to. Like, I know we talk about like guys playing through adversity and Sengun having to learn how to navigate doubles, but you've never been adjusted to in a playoff series until you're there. And I think we can do it one round. I think we're just too young to go past the second round.
We've got a coach that's done it before, though. Like, Ime has legit finals experience, so I think that might be.
But that was the team that made the conference finals without
It's true, but man, like, the West is a deep conference. I don't think the West is nearly as overpowered and as stacked as Twitter likes to act like it is. Like, I don't think the Lakers are better than us. I don't think the Timberwolves are better than us. I think Dallas is the one team I look at that scares me because I've seen Luka walk us down. Yeah. Like, these other teams,
Dallas,
man,
OKC, Denver.
Yeah, Dallas, OKC, Denver, because those are the 3 teams I look at and say, like, you have a guy. I know that in the last 5 minutes, it's up to him making and missing shots. Other than that, man, I'm not really worried. Yep. I'm really not.
I'll say this, and then we kick it.
I want to jump in before you go, but go before we switch. But go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say real quickly. It comes down to experience in the playoffs a lot for the most part, and just being a new team, it'll be tough to reach that third round. Like, seeing a team like the T-Wolves, even though they match up better with them now that Cat's gone. But man, Ant, he's been there like 3-4 times. He can come and just end the series just off the strength of like, yeah, I've been here. Like, this is what I do. You know, it's gonna be difficult in a sense because you got teams that are experienced. But that's just me. First year is a good test. Then the next year is all right. We know what we're doing. Like OKC this year, they're going all the way. But that's what I was gonna say. What about you, Zach? Well, my bad.
Yeah, I think to what Asad was saying, it is very matchup dependent. I think more now than like ever, because a lot of these teams are flawed and they have like very strong flaws. Like, you run into the wrong team, like they will knock you out. The Thunder have been used as an example. You saw what happened when they played the Mavs. Like, they're a better team on paper than the Mavs, but the Mavs just had a matchup with the amount of offense rebounds they got, and then obviously like
Mavs versus Timberwolves too.
Yeah. And then the Mavs cooked the Timberwolves because they're just not a good matchup. So that's very important. as it stands now, we're on pace to have home court. We're on pace to have a home series.
Mhm.
And I like our odds at the very least of getting out of the first round. But I think after that, you do the deeper you go into the playoffs, like the more your deficiencies show, and like the more teams are capable of exposing you, right? Because I think like if we pull like the Suns, just to like say a name, right, in the first round, they can't really expose a lot of the weaknesses that we have because they're not a heavy rim pressure team. They're not a heavy like volume 3-point shooting team. Not an elite playmaking team. And they're just frankly they're old. They're not a great rebounding team. So like we'll have the rebounding advantage. We'll probably have the turnover advantage. We'll probably have the fast break point advantage. But then like y'all mentioned like Dallas, that's a team that probably could walk us down because you have two guys who are like two of the best clutch players in the league, two of the best on ball creators in the league. Denver, not so much on the perimeter, but I mean it's Jokic, and Jokic is very capable of winning the playoff series, and obviously like the Thunder. So yeah, I think expectations should be getting around. I think we are going to win around. I think anything else after that is just kind of bonus though.
I'm gonna be the Debbie Downer because I don't think we get around. The reason I started
So you have
laughing
little faith.
before y'all started talking was 'cause I went and looked up if the playoffs were to start today and like everything just stays. So play-in
It's gonna be
teams
like
where they
Denver or
are.
somebody, but
Do y'all know who would play in the first round?
Is it
I
Golden
have a
State?
feeling it's
Memphis?
It's
Denver.
Golden State. And that's why I started
Probably.
laughing. I'm like, we're not beating Golden State in the
Wait, the
7-game
Warriors are
series.
17 right now?
Yeah, we're not beating Golden State.
If the
Man,
Warriors are
oh
healthy,
ye of little faith, man.
if the Warriors
I
are
was about to say
healthy,
we
we're
wouldn't
not
have
beating
that.
Steph in a
We're not
7-game
beating.
series, bro.
Yeah,
No.
bro, you gotta
It's
think of the
I'll be so for
script
real.
though. Think of the script.
I'll be so for real. DeAndre, it has nothing to do with Steph. Ime Udoka is not beating Steve Kerr in a 7-game series.
Honestly, that was we all were me and you were at that game where we almost came back.
Yes.
And me and you both talked about that after the fact of like him kind of struggling with coaches that have more of like a free flowing split action offense.
Yeah.
I think the difference is he's starting to add that. Like we do look like more of a true motion offense, running Sengun at the elbow. And it's something that he struggled with in Boston of like actually adjusting the offense to what the strength of his players were down the stretch. If he's learned from his mistakes, and I think that he has, and I love the rest of our coach staff. I love Royal Ivy, Ben Sullivan, and I love the vets we have. Like I think that mind group, that brain power in the locker room, I think in a 7-game series, I think we got him because they found something in that second half. Was it just Tari Eason saved me? It might have just been Tari Eason saved me. But if that's the idea, like I think that. And another thing, man, like Warriors fans, y'all are in my mentions anyway. They just stink. Like they
Man, we're
stink.
not getting
They're
walked
not
down by
good.
Buddy Hield,
Warriors
man. I'm
dead
sorry,
aren't
bro.
good. Like Steph looks old.
So, but
Draymond looks
here was
old.
part of the reason why I said that, though. Part of the reason I think is one, which I'll say, Assad is 100% correct. I think that playoff experience matters a lot.
It does.
It's the reason why I think that OKC was more talented than Dallas. Even though also they weren't the best matchup for Dallas, but I think they were more talented on paper.
Agreed.
And Dallas still walked them down because they had more experienced guys. It's the same reason why I think the Magic, who were a great team last year, got beat by the Cavs. And like I think those teams aren't like obviously this year they're kind of a tier apart right now. But last night I wouldn't say they were like all that far apart. It's just I think the Cavs are more experienced than them. I think that young teams historically don't do well in the playoffs, not because they suck. It's just because it's a different game that you never played it before. And that's one of the reasons why I do want us to hurry up and get that experience now, as opposed to like 2-3 seasons from now. Like for us, we're still ahead of schedule when it comes to rebuilding a team. Most teams usually don't get playoff experience this early into a rebuild. So like I want us to get that now so we can figure that out now as opposed to 2-3 seasons from now. But also I think the reason why we're going to lose, depending on who we draw, like I'll say this, if we play Golden State, I don't think we're beating Golden State, unfortunately. But like
Man, we're not losing to Buddy Hield.
Memphis, the Clippers, the Suns, Spurs are a playing team, the Lakers. I'm not really scared of those teams, but like Dallas scares me. OKC obviously scares me. Denver scares me, and I ain't gonna lie. I don't think we're beat. Golden State just has a mental hold on us. I don't think we beat Golden State. But another reason why
we're just better than them. I know we lost that game, but
they would give the Mavericks a good series. We actually match up very well against them, but experience with
they got Luka though. Like Luka,
I agree.
But
if it wasn't for experience, I would put us over the map.
But it's another thing. It's another thing that we do not have, and that is a good half court offense, because I think that matters a lot more in the playoffs than it does in the regular season. I think in the regular season you can win games off of like we're the second or either best defense in the league right now. And I don't know where we rank in terms of transition offenses, but I know we're towards the top of the
pretty
league.
sure we're top 5.
Yeah, so like we're probably top 5 transition offense, top 5 in defense. Like you can win regular season games off that strategy, off of a Minintari causing chaos and getting out and running. You can win strategy games off of your defense just being better. I think in the playoffs, the game is going to slow down, and it's going to come down to can you adjust to adjustments and how can you execute in the half court set. And respectfully, we don't do too well in the half court set right now, and that's probably not going to change between now and the playoffs. And so between the fact that we're not the most experienced team and then the fact that we're not a good half court offense, even at our best right now, I think it's the recipe for a competitive first round exit, depending on who we play. And
I think, my pushback on that, and I'm gonna end it here from my perspective is all the games where we do have a good half court offense, the process isn't different, the plays aren't different, the sets aren't different. We just make shots. Like I genuinely think if we just get hot at the right time, I think we're gonna win a playoff series regardless. Because I think we're just gonna be better than whoever that 6 seed, 7 seed, even we're the 4 seed, we have to play whoever's the 5 seed. I think we're just gonna be the better team. If we get to that second round and it is the Timberwolves, if it is Dallas, kind of scares me, but man, if we're hitting shots, and I think having Fred and Dylan there, Fred obviously who's made a championship run, and Dylan who has been through every phase of a team in the playoffs outside of winning a ring. He's been a favorite. He's been the new guy on the block. He's been kind of the middling team. He understands what the feeling is going into a playoff series as well. You got Steven Adams, you got Jeff Green, Aaron Holiday even. Like, you got dudes that have been around the league and been in these moments that can kind of pass some of that wisdom. Obviously, the best experience is head on. It's trial by fire. So obviously Sengun, Jaylen, Amen, all our young guys, the guys in the core, they'll have to experience that by trial by fire. But I think having that veteran presence, a real veteran presence that's been there before and done what these guys want to do, a great coaching staff, man, we just get hot at the right time. We're a very scary team, and I think a lot of teams don't want to see us. But on the flip side of it, I do agree with Will's point. I don't think we want to see us sometimes. And I think last night's game against the Kings is probably the best example of that.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna kick it off to you for your hot take, because I was gonna say, damn, this could have been a topic in itself.
Yeah, we all had said. I mean, it is 4 of us agreeing with each other and arguing against Will, but yeah. So this is less of a hot take and more of a this guy needs to get more appreciation. We often talk about like Fred VanVleet as like the veteran leader of our guards, of the offense, etc. I think our wing room being the heart and soul of the team, the wing room of Tari, Amen, Jabari, and then I think the vet leader, Dylan Brooks, I think has gone way too underappreciated this season, leading the league in defensive rating, shooting 39% from 3 on 5 attempts, literally doing, I think, if you told somebody last offseason that this is the level that Dylan Brooks would produce shooting-wise and defensively through the first 2 years of the signing, we would all say that contract is a bargain. And at the time, if you go back to those, you got Kevin O'Connor saying he doesn't want him on the league minimum. You got people complaining, talking about we gave him 4 years, 80 mil, it's way too much. And it's shaping up to be one of the better contracts in the league. And I just really want to shout out Dylan Brooks. I think what he does for that wing room is underappreciated. Because if you notice, Amen's more aggressive. Tari's more aggressive. Sometimes it hurts them. Don't get me wrong. But I think it's easier to take back aggression when a guy is already amped up than it is to teach someone to bring it out of them. Never mind. I'm not gonna say anything about. This might be a little 6'2" guard on our team that needs to be a little more aggressive. I'm not gonna say too much. He needs a Dylan Brooks in his life. I think all of us could use a Dylan Brooks in our life. And every NBA team would want him on their team right now. Talk to another fan base. Talk to them about how they feel about Dylan Brooks and how he's producing. Yeah, talk to Grizzlies fans. Grizzlies fans are upset, bro. He's literally the idealized version of what he can be, and I just wanted to shout him out real quick.
Before we go to Zay, I do want to add one thing to that. I'll try to keep it quick. I agree 100% that I think that the growth, especially on the defensive end that we've seen from like mainly Amin and Tari, I think does not happen if Dylan Brooks is not here. But I also think that because I go to, not to flex, but I go to a lot of the games. I know DeAndre. I know everybody here for the most part has been to their fair share of games this season. Y'all have been there. How many times are y'all in the arena and you hear Dylan Brooks yelling something to Alperen Sengun? I hear him yell, LP all the time. And I promise you, I think one of the reasons that that Sengun's defense is as good as it has this season is because of Dylan Brooks. I think Dylan Brooks has been a huge reason for that. And just on top of the fact that he's always talking to the guys, he's always communicating. He's been the perfect locker room vet for this team, and that's coming from somebody. If you go back 2023, when we were talking about it, I said I want nothing to do with Dillon Brooks. So the fact that he's proved me completely wrong, and I didn't take that long last season, but here we are, in year 2 of the Dillon Brooks experience, and I think it's gotten even better. I'd agree that he's on one of the best contracts in the league, and obviously he shouldn't go nowhere, but I think if we were to make him available for trade, 2 first-round picks. I think
minimum, man, minimum.
Yeah.
And real quick, I'll say real quick schematically on that before I let Zay go. Dillon Brooks not just helping Sengun communicating. He's so strong in his lower body and core that him being able to check centers, which lets Sengun roam. Big reason the dude's averaging more than 3 stocks a game right now. Watch Sengun's blocks. A lot of the times he's only in positions to get those blocks because Dillon Brooks is checking someone that has 6-7 inches taller than him. He's able to do that. So super, super important for our defense. I think really underrated guy. But go ahead, Zay. What's your take?
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I was gonna talk about Sengun, but I kind of want to also piggyback off of the Dillon Brooks talk.
And when you're done with that, I'll chime in as well. So you go ahead.
Because not gonna lie, man. July 2023, man. April 2023. Was definitely probably the most anti-Dillon Brooks person out there. Definitely multiple spaces I am on record saying I did not want bro. So much so that it got to a point where I was like, dog, I don't even want him for a minimum. Because a lot of the stuff with the Grizzlies, the inefficiency, some of the decision making, some of the the quote unquote locker room stuff they had going on. But you would go to the Rockets his tenure here, and it's literally been nothing but a complete reverse of that. His shot selection is worlds better. Obviously, he still take a couple minutes.
He's still Dillon Brooks, man. He's still Dillon Brooks.
But it's way better. And I think there's not a coincidence that his efficiency is higher. He's taking better shots, and he's better at shooting those better shots. A lot of the stuff he's doing, defensively, is also very, very huge. We wouldn't be the number 2 ranked defense in the league if he wasn't one of the best point of attack defenders in the league, right? It allows a man to be more aggressive going after the steals and blocks. It allows Tari to be more aggressive. It allows Sengun to be more aggressive. And he is, for all intents and purposes, a culture setter, defensively and offensively. Honestly, he's low key, sneakily a very good shot maker. And there's been multiple times where, funny enough, Dillon Brooks has bailed us out. It just happened against OKC 3 days ago. So yeah, I also want to give him his flowers because as the most anti Dillon Brooks person prior to him getting here, I am very, very ecstatic to be wrong. And I'm not gonna lie, I flipped so much so that I'm looking to keep him now. At first when we signed him, it was always okay, the contract's cool because it's a chance we can trade him, it's a chance we can flip him. It shouldn't age bad. The money on the contract's pretty good, but I'm not gonna lie, at this point, dude, this is the type of guy you want when you're winning games. This is the type of guy you want when you're trying to make a playoff run. So, honestly, I wouldn't even trade him. I wouldn't. I don't probably, if we made a superstar trade, we'll probably get into that later. We probably would have to. But yeah, it would hurt. I'm not gonna lie. Because I think that's one of the guys that you want in your 8 when you get into May and June.
Yeah, I'll say this about Dillon Brooks. I remember I hated the idea about Dillon Brooks at first, and I did a deep dive, and I was like, I think I would love Dillon Brooks in Houston. I remember I was talking to y'all in these group chats and spaces, and I was the only one I think he'd be cool. People brag, get out of here with that. But I saw he was a solid catch and shoot 3-point player, and a lot of his field goal percentage and 3-point percentage deficiencies were from wild attempts. So I was like, if they can just get him to take these catch and shoot threes, he'll be fine. And then I looked at the defensive statistics. He's great at navigating on-ball screens. Obviously a good defender. We all know that about him already. And he would be a good fit with Ime Udoka, culture-wise. So I'm happy for the most part. Everything that I saw previously kind of came to fruition. Anytime he shoots a 3-ball now, I don't know about y'all, but I feel like it's going in. I feel like
I do too.
Yeah, I'm very confident his catch and shoot threes.
If he's on balance, it looks very good. Now, we know Dillon Brooks, it's you got to live with the shot selection, same way. But crazy enough, you can look at a Dillon Brooks fadeaway and be like, oh, my God, what is he doing? he is shooting like 11 for 24 on those this year. And I had to go back and look because they had to be like, they probably looked at his old film in Memphis, was like, he's solid at these. He shot 50% on fadeaways one season in Memphis. And they probably were like, hey, take more of these. But it looks crazy. I don't know if I like them still because they look insane. But for some reason it's working. But for the most part, y'all hit it perfectly. Really
it's funny. I just want to just quick little chime in. It's funny if you watch this version of Dillon Brooks, it looks like Oregon Dillon Brooks. Like it really does. If you go back and watch his like senior year at Oregon, this was kind of the idea of like what Dillon Brooks is supposed to be in the league, like a third option, honestly, at times on offense, and a really hard-nosed defender that's going to navigate screens and give you some self-creation. I don't know if y'all have noticed, he has a left-hand floater now. I don't know where that came from. But bro, it's like it's weird. It's like that bump 1-2 left-hand floater. I don't know what he's doing. Like he bought some VC, I guess. I don't know. But it's crazy seeing like what he's become to his team. And he is the culture, honestly. Like I know we give Fred a lot of credit, but he really is the culture and the identity of this team, and they've really adopted what Dillon Brooks brings to the organization, and I couldn't be happier for it.
I mean, you can keep the mic, I think, DeAndre, because it's on to you for your hot take.
I don't know. We're going to Zay first.
Oh yeah, I'll speak on 28. I think a lot of what he's doing this season is impressive because like a lot of his advanced analytics and like all like the catch-all stats, and obviously like individually catch-all stats are not good, but you can kind of get a decent idea of a player's impact by using like multiple of them, and if they all line up, that really tells the story. They're all very high while he's like very inefficient, and he's inefficient because he's missing layups at like an alarmingly high rate, and a higher rate than he literally ever has in his career. So it's like very clear that's outlier. So it's very impressive that for all intents and purposes, everything shows like this guy's a top 15 player in the league. Like you look at some of the numbers, it's like he's top 10, like BPM, EPM. I know like the Hoops Hype rating has him. I think last time I checked, he was like 8th. And you see it like on the court because a lot of the stuff he does, like with the rebounding, it's very huge. A lot of the offensive rebounds we get, which is like a very, very huge component of what we do as a team. It's because of him. It's either because he's boxing out, letting a guy get an opportunity to get in there, or he's just flat out getting himself. And then the playmaking stuff also. I think the other day he had 22 potential assists. I think he finished with 9, but he had 22 potential assists, which is a pretty lofty number. And I know DeAndre is not a huge fan of potential assists. Because some people do like some of the language on what a potential assist is does get nasty sometimes because guys will like pass and they take like dribble pull up, and that's still.
I will say though, of those 22, at least like 8 were missed Jabari's threes.
Yeah, like they're
missed
like,
corner threes.
Yeah, they're like real.
Those were valid.
That he's generating. Like those are open shots that he's generating, right? So yeah, I just think like as on the whole, what he's doing is impressive, and I think it's gonna get even more impressive when he starts making layups again.
Yep.
Yeah, honestly, he's one of the ones, man. Honestly, for everybody that's still doubting him, and some Zay didn't really bring up the defense.
Yeah,
it's been night and day, and I think the cool thing to see is for at least 2 off seasons now, we've been begging to like bring in a weak side rim protector. Funny enough, Ime just said you're going to be the weak side rim protector. He's letting Jabari guard 5s, Dillon at time guard 5s, and he's playing that roamer dunker spot or dunker defender type of guy, coming over weak side on pick and rolls, and he seems to be thriving in it. You could tell he looks a bit leaner. I wonder if that's kind of playing it on the offensive end as well. But yeah, he's thriving right now. He looks like a legitimate all-star, a guy that we should be pushing for all NBA. Yeah, man. Shout out to Goon, man. Shout out to Goon.
I do want to say one thing to add on to what he said. Also, this episode's going to start looking really funky. I just executive decisioned off on the side. I don't know if y'all saw. I'm going to go ahead and just split this into two parts. So listeners at home, you're going to watch the second part of this episode like another day or something like that. I'm going to go ahead and split this into two. So when we finish this segment, I'm going to cut it, and then we'll come back and finish it up. So y'all can go and just get all your thoughts out without having to feel like a time constraint. But I did want to add one thing to what Brad threw me off when he cut out. What DeAndre just said, the weak side rim protection stuff, even when it's not Sengun weak side rim protecting, one thing that's really cool is that I think Amin and Tari are really good at being that weak side rim protection, which is something that I don't think, like, I was sky high on Amin, did not see that being in his, his cards. And like Tari, somewhat showed a little bit of that at LSU, but to the degree that he's shown it at the NBA level, like, once again, did not see that coming. And it's crazy to me because I said it in a space. It's like they have it's like a signal goes off in their brains that when Sengun walls someone up, which Shingun's really good at going contesting vertically and not drawing a foul, just going up. So a signal goes off in their head. And it's like, all right, time to go block the shot. And you'll see them like beeline, leave their assignment and just go spot the shot. And it's crazy because like sometimes like Amin guards the best player a lot of times. So I'm like, dude, you're about to leave like Luka to try to go get this block, but he runs and gets it. Man, it works. You know what I'm saying? And so like same thing with Tari. Tari's he's great at doing that as well. So I think that's another way that Shingun's also been really good defensive this year. It's also just contesting vertically and allowing the guys who are good at coming over weak side and blocking the shot, like giving them the platform to do that. And that's something that he did not do last year. I'll be honest with you. He did not do that with us in the previous season. To be fair, I guess he didn't have anyone to do it with last year, but he did not. So that I want to give him some props in that department as well.
Yeah, like I always said last year, like Sengun was part of a top 10 defense, but like I think if we're being really honest with ourselves, he was just kind of surviving out there. Like for a lot of games, like he wasn't really the reason I think we were a top 10 defense. A lot of that came from Brooks, like Fred. Fred had a really good defensive year last year. This year, like if you watch the Rockets games, they like funnel guys to Sengun sometimes. Like they're like oh, Sengun's gonna stop this. Like even last game we lost to the Kings. I don't know if Sabonis scored like a single straight up post up point on Sengun. Every time he tried to post him up, he was just walled. And it's like Will said, he's gotten really, really good at not fouling, which was, I don't know if y'all remember his rookie year. There were people being like, man, Sengun can never, he was averaging, I think, per 36, like 18, 10, 7, and 10 fouls. Like he was averaging, I remember this stat because I remember from his rookie year because I was like, I don't know if the guy can ever be a starting center. He was averaging the most fouls per 36. Like it was like the 5th most in like NBA history. It was insane. Yeah, because he was getting like 10 minutes a night and having like 3-4 fouls and almost fouling out.
I never knew that. That's wild. That's a wild.
Yeah, it was crazy. He was up
4
there.
4 fouls a game as a rookie, something
like.
Yeah,
he was averaging 4 fouls a game and playing like 15 minutes. So like, do the math on that. Like, but that's what I'm saying. Like, just phenomenal to see like his development as a player, and it's just been really, really cool to see like. Even it's a big reason I hate archetypes is like just because you try to put someone into a certain mold, if you really like groom them and develop them into what you want, like there's no archetypes in the league, man. Like Sengun's supposed to be the Sabonis Jokic type, and he's playing, in my opinion, better defense than either of them have ever played in their careers.
I'll say this really quickly. Actually, no, you go ahead. Go ahead. You the guest.
I was gonna say, to touch on like the fouling point. That's a really, really huge point as well, and I think that's like honestly, that's one of the bigger things that is impressive about Sengun and like him improving as a defender, because I think that's one of the things that gets overlooked a lot of times when we talk about defense, when we talk about rim protection. A lot of rim protection is leaving guys off the line, like not allowing them to get to the line because you're fouling. And I think that's a very huge thing that gets overlooked. Like we get enamored with like the blocks, we get enamored with like steals at the rim, but what folks don't look at and like focus on is keeping guys off the line and contesting without fouling. That's a very huge thing, and I think that's one of the things that he's done so well. So why his defensive field goal percentage at the rim is so much better and among the best. And that's why our defense as a whole is among the best, because at the rim you have Sengun, he's not fouling. So when these guys do get attempts at the rim, they're getting one shot at it, and if they miss. They're not going to the line. We're getting a rebound. We're going the other way.
I was gonna say this, and it was a good thing I passed it to you because I wanted to look up a stat. One of you guys mentioned it earlier. Sengun has been really good weak side because of Dylan Brooks, taking on some of those bigger defenders or bigger guys on offense. I looked it up. I mean, the defensive net rating when Sengun is playing with Dylan Brooks on the court is 99%.
Crazy.
99 percentile. When Dylan Brooks is off the court, I think it goes to like 32nd percentile. So kind of want to give Dylan Brooks some more props there, but also more props to Sengun for getting in shape in the offseason, improving on the defensive end. He's known as one of the worst defenders in the league by a lot of people, and he is far from that at this point in time. I'm not saying he's elite, but he is definitely a serviceable defender, and you cannot be a top 5 defense in the league with a defender that's awful. And Sengun, again, is not that. So I just want to give him props on the defensive end.
Yes, that's another thing Asad said too. Because I do think a lot of last year, it was like he was a part of a top 10 defense, and for the most part, he was like a neutral. Like he was out there, he wasn't doing anything super negative. Like he was out there like playing right. This year, he's a huge component as to why we are the second best defense in the league. Like he's legitimately been a positive defender. And to circle back to like the advanced metric stuff, like that's why his advanced numbers are so good. Because even though he's over there smoking layups left and right, look at the rebounding, you look at the defense, you look at the playmaking. Like he's doing all 3 of those aspects of basketball right now at an elite level. So you put like all of those in a composite, like it's still giving you top 15 player in the league impact.
Yeah.
That would move us to the next point. I'm assuming if no one had.
Been
I
a
was
lot
gonna
of
say-
positivity, man. Been
Time
a
for the
whole lot of
ether?
positivity.
It's some negativity. Come on.
I hate to rain on that parade with my own failed agenda.
Negative.
Sadly, for those of you that follow the podcast, we have our agenda boards, and Isaiah's over there smiling, and Isaiah to Asada to a lesser extent smiling, because they're 2 guys that have continued and actually sustained some type of success throughout this season. Team Oro over Analytics here. Started off the season great. First 5 games of the season, man, it looked like we was doing something. But sadly, that man has now been stripped of his name. He is just number 4 on the Houston Rockets. And number 4 on the Houston Rockets has been a detriment, in all honesty, to what it looks like we could be long term, because he leaves a giant question mark rather than a solidified answer. The first 5 games of the season looked really, really good. It looked like he was a new player. Looked like the process had improved. Looked like the shots that we had seen him make in March, it seemed like it carried over. Like that was the player we were getting. We were finally getting the version of number 4 that we saw at G League Ignite. And if you followed him from forehand at Prolific Prep and San Joaquin Memorial and all the EYBL events, it seemed like that guy was finally emerging in the NBA. Turns out number 4 is just an inconsistent player. And until proven otherwise, he's just going to be number 4 on the Houston Rockets. I tweeted it out. People think I'm joking. Anytime I get into a space, anytime I tweet at him, even on this podcast, until that man has 10 straight games of 20 points on league average true shooting, he is simply number 4 on the Houston Rockets. I don't care if it's for the rest of the season. He would just be number 4. And as the former leader, actually, no, I still am the leader, but we just had to change names. No longer Romande FC. Sadly, just number 4 FC now. It just is what it is, man. It just is what it is. Only person that can change this is him. We've discussed this a lot in spaces and group chats. Even on our last time I was on the Bradeaux and Will show. The only person that can stop Jaylen Green is Jaylen Green. And the only person that doesn't know how good Jaylen Green is seems to be Jaylen Green. It's sad to see. It hurts at times because, like, man, you should be a major part of the reason we are the 1 seed. If you were who we thought you were and who we think you can be, we'd be the 1 seed, and we wouldn't be having maybe we can win a series. It'd be, man, maybe we can sneak one. Like maybe we can be that underdog team that wins the title for some reason. Like I don't know. Like that should be the expectation if that guy was who we thought he was. But I don't know. Game to game, it's a different player, different play style. I don't know.
Within the same game.
It's even sometimes it's a tale of
quarter
2
to
halves,
quarter,
tale of 2. Yeah, it's a totally different player, and it's all dependent on him. He had just to give an example from last game, he had 2 pick and roll reps back to back. He put Kevin Huerter on his back and ends up going for a super tough finish that should have been a foul with his left hand. Very next play, he gets back poked and it's a turnover. And that is just like the sum of Jaylen Green. The highest of highs, and oh my goodness, this is a superstar too. You're just number 4. You're number 4 on the Houston Rockets. So yeah, I don't want to go too long on number 4 of the Houston Rockets because it's something we can talk about all day with how disappointing.
I mean, just look at his last like 5 games, and I feel like it illustrates it. These are points. These are points. Okay, 41, 8, 17, 9, 28. what is that? Like,
Green experience. That's what it
he
is.
went. He took. This is someone pointed this out to me. And he took 9 shots for the entirety of the OKC game. He took 9 shots in the first quarter yesterday.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just aggressions on different levels. You never know what you're gonna get from him.
Not just the aggression, it's also his approach. Now, I'm on record saying I don't think his process is necessarily like bad. A lot of times it just comes down to him just missing good looks. But another problem is like there are some games like the Sixers game where he prioritizes getting downhill, putting pressure on. I think it was the second Spurs game. He did the same thing where it was mainly him getting to the rim, getting downhill, finishing there, and that looks pretty good. And then there's games like the Hornets season opener, and then I think it was the second Blazers game, where he's putting up like 10 plus threes and not even making half of them. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's not even just the fact that that like he's inconsistent. His numbers are inconsistent. His approach is inconsistent. Some games he's getting to the rim. Some games he's launching threes. Some games he's taking the step back twos. Like you don't really know what version of Jaylen Green you're going to get until like the first 2-3 minutes of the first quarter goes by, and you're like, okay, I kind of can tell what type of game this is for Jaylen, because each individual game it's a different process. But yeah, I don't want to speak too negative on him. Like people do.
Can I give a PSA real quick?
Yeah.
Lord, I should have never put this on the timeline. For everyone, stop watching the games looking at his thumb. I know I made a tweet about it, but please stop tagging me, asking if he's thumbing the ball and if I notice it. I'm not Ben Sullivan. I don't know. Please, bro. I'm just trying to watch the game as a fan.
Ben Sullivan do, man?
Like, please, bro. Like, it's nasty, man. I'm getting tagged like, Dre, did you see his thumb today? Was he thumbing it? I don't know. I was watching Green. Yeah, that sounds crazy, bro. But oh my goodness.
Because do y'all know what Tari Eason is shooting from 3 in his last 10 games?
It's like somebody tagged me. It's like 2 for 22,
I think he's made like 1 shot, right?
It feels like he's missed every shot. Damn, man.
In his last 10 games, he's shooting 24% from 3. I'll run it down. 2 of 4, 0 of 4, 1 of 3, 2 of 2, 1 of 5, 0 of 1, 0 of 3, 0 of 1, 1 for 5, 1 for 5. So in his last, 5, 6, 9, 10, 20 attempts. Yeah, that's what I saw. In his last 20 attempts from 3, he's made 3 of them. What does Ben Sullivan do, man? What are we paying that man?
Because it's wide open, like corner threes too. Like it's not off the dribble.
It's from the corner.
The break. Like it's corner and it's wide open, and it's catch and shoot.
If anything, same thing with Jabari Smith. You just got to hit the open catch and shoot threes, because it's a team that needs to get downhill, and you got to hit the open threes so you don't clog up the lanes. Tari's done a good job up until this recent stretch of hitting the open threes. Jabari's getting slightly better. But, man, once that defense stretch out, man, they need to hit those open threes. But, yeah, Tari.
Yep.
Did anybody else have anything they want to add to any, like, the agendas or anything DeAndre said, anything like that? Okay, so this is what we're going to do. Oh, Bryce, you have something you want to say?
I was gonna say what you were gonna say. I was gonna say this is a very fun episode. Probably our first like discussion-based kind of episode instead of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 talking in order. Good discussion. I want to appreciate y'all. What was gonna say? What you gonna say? Go ahead.
Okay, so what I was gonna say is we're gonna stop it here, and I do want to go ahead and knock out the trade conversation that we were gonna talk about next. Just go ahead and get that out the way. And then what I'll do is I'll upload. This will probably come out. So for y'all, it will be what's today? Wednesday. So it'll be Thursday when you see this one, and then maybe Friday or Saturday I'll upload part 2, something like that. But yeah, because I don't want to cut off the good conversation for the sake of getting under an hour. So yeah, this will be the first 2-part episode of the Bradeaux and Will Show. X the Right Read podcast. Yeah, we'll do it like that. So y'all tap in if for some odd reason you don't come back to part 2. Tap in with these guys and their work, but we're gonna be back like literally right now to talk about the second half of this.
And sub to the pod if you're still listening. Appreciate y'all.